Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, senior editor at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, a senior editor at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. And for once, we have the trio back. Yes, it's not just a dynamic duo. Dave Schofield's back from his 3.5 weeks sabbatical, it feels like. Dave, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. As soon as you introduce our other person, I have a little bit more to say, but I'll yield to him first.
Okay, so Bryan Anthony Davis, our podcast producer, please introduce yourself to the audience on this.
Wow, I'm glad that I get involved in this. Yeah. Hey, it is so great to have the three of us back. And as the podcast producer, I proclaim that the three of us will be together forever. Except next week when I take the week off.
Oh my gosh. This is the worst show on the platform. Like literally, I don't know why anyone listens because the Steelers previews never all three of us. It's been like two for the last 5 weeks.
Hey, it's our off season.
I didn't want to get into something really deep without Bryan being introduced. I thought that would be rude.
Okay.
But I need to play something real quick. Okay. And it's called You Were Right, You Were Wrong. Okay. And this is going off of last week's show, which you guys like to, talk about various things. Let's start with one Jefferson Hartman. Okay. Where you were right and where you were wrong. Okay. Here's where you were right. You are right. Unless it's your team, the team that just won the Super Bowl, you're supposed to hate the next year. You're supposed to hate them and root against them. You were right. Okay. Where you were wrong was saying that I hadn't been on the show for forever. I've missed 2 episodes in all of 2021. And that was the first week of June and the first week of July, which was last week. So that's where you were right. And that's where you were wrong.
I think that's 2 more than me, but I digress. Okay. That's where I'm right.
It probably is 2 more than you. Okay. Now, one Bryan Anthony Davis. Here's where you were right and you were wrong.
I could have wrong.
I could have done where you were right as where Jeff was wrong. And that is, I'm going to settle your dispute from last week about one Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger's playing time in the preseason. The last time BTR played in more than one preseason game was 2015.
In your face, Hartman.
Okay. 16, he only played week 3. 17, he only played week 3. 18, he only played week 3. 19, he only played week 3. And of course, 2020, there was no preseason. So just because you guys were saying we need the Oracle, he would know this. So
we did.
There's the answer. And Bryan,
I was wrong. Good job.
Bryan, where you were wrong, it was not
everything else.
It was not a black and gold G-string.
Please tell me that the Scobros didn't go. It wasn't the Scobro Alfresco show.
No, it wasn't the Scobro Alfresco. It wasn't even the Scobro Speedo. Okay, it wasn't even that.
Banana hammock.
Live chat. Who would you rather see in a banana hammock? Dave or Rich?
Oh my gosh, this show is deep. We're 3 minutes in.
We've already hit 2 a.m. status.
Oh my gosh!
I just had to clean that up since I wasn't here last week.
There you go. I want to do something really neat. This is something I know Bryan's done before on The Hangover. If you're watching live, which we have total on Facebook and YouTube, a little under 70 people live watching right now. Where are you watching from? All you gotta say is where you're from. It'd be cool to see where everyone is and our live shows, which in case you're listening on audio platform, you don't know how to catch those, you can either follow our Facebook page, just search Behind the Steel Curtain. You'll follow that. It's verified. We have, I think, well over 100,000 followers. And then you can find us on YouTube by going to BTSC Steelers Radio, search that in YouTube. You'll find us, subscribe. We have just over 7,000 subscribers, I believe. I'd love to get that to 8. Mark Davidson's watching from the moon. That's pretty exciting for him. I mean, we thought that being in Upside Down World is good enough down in Australia, but Columbus, Ohio, we have Iowa, Loretta, PA.
Loretto, there we go, close to my hometown.
Loretta. Kenneth Beamer from West Virginia. Where in West Virginia? That's my old stomping grounds. Some people from Pittsburgh. That's boring. Peterstown.
Now, you know what's funny about that? We don't see a lot of Pittsburgh.
No, we really don't. We really don't. That's what's crazy. Louisiana, Felicia, welcome to the show as always.
Columbus, Phoenix, yeah. Hey, Felicia.
All right, so let us know where you're chiming in. Maybe you might find someone in the live chat that's from your actual town that you're watching from. Norfolk, Virginia, chiming in. So I know that right now the people that are in the live chat on YouTube can't see the Facebook comments. We can see both, but they can't. So if you see us say like Norfolk and they're like, where is this person from? They might be on the Facebook side, so keep that in the background. Laurel, Maryland from James. There you go. Nice. We're up in Western Maryland, and that's awful. As we know this time of year is all the Ravens fans they're like termites. They come out of the woodwork. It's like they go into hiding, and then all of a sudden here they come. They come out and go Lamar. So
then they lose two games, and then they're like, all right,
they disappear. but the further west you go in Maryland, the more black and gold it gets.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's not even just further west. The higher in elevation, I guess maybe I should say. The
higher in elevation,
getting further away from hell.
So if you go to Kaiser's Ridge, you got a lot of Steeler fans there.
You
do. Oh man.
You really
look at
that. Oh, Bad Company. There it is. $2. Hashtag Bad Company. Hashtag copyright infringement. Hashtag lawsuit pending.
Hashtag I ask permission. And hashtag I always pump up ride or die.
Oh my gosh. That's from Cali, LA. There you go.
There we go.
What's up?
Moyock, North Carolina. Just went through there last weekend. Actually, my sister-in-law is from there.
Moyock?
Yeah. Well, she's kind of my sister-in-law. She's my sister-in-law. So, yeah.
Second
my
cousin.
Sister,
yeah.
Lawyers, bus drivers, Uber drivers, renovation.
Right. Harper's Ferry.
Nice. Very close. Oh man, that's way too close.
I spent a week in the HF for my son's birthday last year.
Yeah, and you met some people that knew me down there because it's not close to where I work. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Great rafting down there. I had such a good time.
All right, let's get this show on the road. Let's talk about welcome to everyone that's watching live on Facebook or YouTube. Dave, you want to say something?
You got me distracted. You've got Hawaii, man. It's all kinds of good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. We normally have someone on Facebook that's always from Hawaii, actually. So we want to talk about today, in the first part at least, the best and worst case scenarios for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into training camp. Now, again, Dave said this on his Thursday show, The Stat Geek. I reiterated it for Friday on my Let's Ride podcast. And now it's one of those situations where, like, we don't know when these players are actually going to report. We know the date that they are legally, or I should say allowed to by the NFL. That is the 21st. But we don't know if that's exactly when they're going to report. Dave brought it up, and it was a very good point. Maybe are they going to do ramp up stuff again? Are they just going to have meetings? We don't know. Not sure why we don't know, but we don't know. So next week we could be in the midst of training camp, or we could still be talking about when are they going to start. We'll see. But we're going to talk about best and worst case scenarios for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into camp. Bryan, you thought of this topic. Is there anything you want to, are there any logistics that we or the listeners need to know before we get started?
Yes. Training camp only. Nothing for the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this can include preseason, because that's also you have some games in there.
Yeah.
I mean, they break camp before the last preseason game, right? But
yeah, just basically from now until September 12th.
Ooh. So the whole.
All right, that's good. So who wants to start? Any takers? Any takers? Who wants to start?
You know what? I can take this one, and I'm not going to go with the easy one.
Are you doing best or worst right now?
I'll go with best.
Okay.
And one of the best case scenarios that the Pittsburgh Steelers could possibly have is that Matt Canada's offense feels like home and feels like old hat.
Okay.
No.
So you're saying the best case scenario is that it's almost seamless.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Seamless transition.
Seamless transition. That's a good one, Bryan. I like that one.
Dave, do you have anything to say about that?
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say I have mine. I can go next, but no, let's talk about this first. That really would be because, like, one of my scenarios that I did for Jeff's and my 30 scenarios in 30 days was actually talking about the Steelers and penalties for this year. And that's one of the biggest things you have to worry about when you have a new coordinator, especially with one where they're going to be implementing a lot of motion. Are there going to be some, illegal formation, false start or anything because of the timing or stuff issues being off? If they have that seamless transition, and I'm just talking about those kind of penalties in the preseason, even, let alone since we're not allowed to talk about the regular season, that is something good to look for, to see, best case scenario, if that's seamless, where everyone where you don't notice that the players don't seem lost in a new system. That's a really good point.
Yeah. All right, Dave, why don't you do yours?
Yeah, mine is best case scenario that you have a battle for the center position. Not who's going to win it by default, but you actually have multiple good options of who's going to win that job.
And I believe you've gone on record to state that you think Kendrick Green is going to win that outright, correct?
That's what I hope.
Okay.
But I'm doing that more of I'm because my biggest fear is, and we shouldn't live in our fears, except in the playoffs. But we, trying not to live my fears. My biggest fear is that it's going to be who do we have to put there, rather than someone stepping up and multiple people showing that they can play the position, and you just have to go with which one is best and ready right away. Because my fear is if you have to go with not a great option either way, that you might as well go with Green. But I don't see how they can do that, saying he's still not under contract.
Yeah, and so let's. I'm going to go into mine because that was my number one, and that is Kendrick Green actually signs his rookie contract. I can't even imagine. I can't even believe we're doing this. And you can ask Dave. I mentioned this on my Let's Ride podcast Wednesday, and we've had this pre-write written for months, because at rookie minicamp they signed a slew of players. It's like Fryermuth, Harris, like all these guys just boom, 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 signed. Sometimes a multiple at a time, and we're thinking, Kendrick Green's the last one. Let's do this pre-write, and we're still sitting on it. I do think it's going to happen, but what, Bryan?
And guess who fell trapped to that again? Me. I'm thinking, Kendrick Green signed. It's
because it was in the dashboard.
Little orange dot.
Jeff
I didn't say it, but
yeah, Jeff literally wrote that article hours after the last. It was Fryermuth was the last one to sign before Green, right?
I think so.
Because the only reason you don't pre-write those articles otherwise is because sometimes they're grouped together. Like I know Dan Moore and Buddy Johnson, they were both announced at the same time. So you don't really know how well, to prepare for it. But when there's only one guy left, you're like, well, we might as well get it ready before he's going to sign. And we've been waiting.
We have been waiting indeed. Let's get to George. He put $5 in the tip jar. Thank you very much, George. He says, do you think Canada's offense will translate to the National Football League? Spurrier and Kelly, I believe he's referring to Chip Kelly, they failed. I think this is a really good question. I do think that the offenses are different. I don't think Chip Kelly, my gosh. I mean, you're talking about the offensive players sprinting down the field. They had 3 and outs, and the defense had just been on the field 45 seconds earlier. That was a little bit extreme in terms of the college philosophy. I don't think Matt Canada's offense is like that. Bryan, I'll let you go first, and then I'll let Dave go first, and I'll chime in. Go ahead, Bryan. What do you think about that question?
First of all, Chip Kelly's offense was a distraction when you're holding up pictures of B. Arthur and SpongeBob on the sidelines to call plays. And you're like, what's going on here? I really like the way Matt Canada, he adapts to every situation, and he tailors his offense. It's not, hey, this is my way or the highway. He kind of tailors his system to where that offense already is. So he's taking his offense and saying, all right, Ben Roethlisberger, you're a 48 long. I'm gonna make this fit you like a beautiful suit. And he's going to do that the whole way around. The biggest problem I had with Randy Fichtner's offense was in 2019 when he had his Ben Roethlisberger offense. And when Ben Roethlisberger went out, Mason Rudolph comes in, and it was Randy didn't know what to do. Randy did not know how to adapt it to another quarterback. And he didn't know how to adapt it to Duck Hodges either. So it was kind of a disaster that way because it wasn't innovative. When you're innovative and when you're good and when you're an offensive genius, and nobody's saying he's a genius yet, that is yet to be seen. But what we're saying about what Matt Canada can do and what we've seen at different places that he's been, he knows how to tweak and make it the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. It's not the Maryland offense. It's not the Pitt Panthers offense. It's not the NC State offense.
What do you think about that, Dave?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say, Chip Kelly, part of his problem was insisting on doing the personnel that he went with. And like, he didn't care about having, and he got rid of great players in order to have guys that he thought could do what he wanted to do best, which isn't a bad idea, but what he did wasn't really that good to get by with the players that anyway. He was also the first person I ever made a meme about. That was funny. But the difference I see in Matt Canada is it was something, I don't know where I caught this, if it was someone on NFL Network. I don't watch full shows or anything, but I'll see clips and things on Twitter. When Matt Canada was hired, one of the people said, it might have been ESPN or something, non-local Pittsburgh person said, Matt Canada is someone that NFL coaches have been, kind of tweaking his brain about bringing the college game, implementing certain things from the college game to the NFL for a while. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the ones who are actually giving him a shot to do it. That's the one thing. And the other thing is you had a year with him first. He didn't go straight from college to being offensive coordinator or head coach as the other guys. He actually eased in a little bit as the quarterback's coach for a year. I think that'll help, but it's still not certain. That's still a really good question.
I'm going to answer this by asking you both a question. Do you think that Matt Canada's offense is based off of gimmicks in any way, shape, or form? Bryan, what do you think?
Not really, no. But if they were, who cares?
Dave?
Kent Wisenhunt's offense was based on gimmicks, and they did some well with some of those gimmicks.
Well, a trick play is not a gimmick.
Okay, then he mixed some stuff in. He mixed some trips in.
Okay, let me ask this again because I'm not sure if you understand what I'm thinking with gimmicks. Not that you don't understand that. When I think of gimmicks, I'm thinking of like a Chip Kelly style offense where you're talking about looking at the sideline, you see cards, you're calling a play, you're running rapid, straight up. Like that is the way that they run. It's just completely unorthodox. So Ken Wisenhunt and so did Malarkey. They both loved to use trick plays, but it wasn't a gimmick offense. They were very standard in terms of a professional style offense. Do you think Canada's offense is more professional style or more gimmicks?
I think it's more of a professional style. Absolutely not a gimmick offense, in my opinion.
Okay, Dave, what do you think?
I would say, we still haven't seen it. You know what I'm saying? We're still going based on what we know from college and what we expect from it. I'm going to say it could be. It's pushing the envelope more than others would towards being quote unquote gimmicky. But I don't think it's going there because I don't think it's abandoning the basic principles of what would be considered a pro offense. If you know what I mean.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know, but I tell you what I do know is I've read Jeffrey Benedict's offensive breakdown articles this offseason where he's gone into, and it really been fascinating just to learn about football. He's gone into everything from how Matt Canada likes to run play action, the shifts, the pre-snap movement, and he literally will take one play and he will diagnose everything that's happening with it's pretty, I'm telling you, just if you haven't seen them, go to our film room section on the website, scroll down on behindthesteelcurtain.com, click on Steelers film room and you'll find them. And it's not gimmicky in my opinion. It's about matchups. It's based on matchups. He sees a matchup that he wants to exploit and he finds a way to do it. And it's unique and it's different, but I don't think that's gimmicky. And I don't think that's gimmicky at all. I think that's very intelligent. That's forward thinking. And that's something the Steelers haven't had at an offensive coordinator since maybe some of those coordinators I mentioned in Malarkey and Wisenhunt. Because I don't think Todd Haley was forward thinking either. He was very reactionary. And so this is going to be different.
Yeah.
And Todd Haley was
I was going to say maybe Bruce Arians, but all I think of with him is that he was just getting Ben killed. If it wasn't for getting Ben killed all the time, yeah.
But as Brad Jewett says in the live chat, asked that question after a week or two, even of the preseason. And he said, we have no idea how Ben and Canada are constructing what they like to do. It's going to take time. It's going to evolve. It has to evolve. If it doesn't evolve, we'll be Randy Lane 2.0 because Randy Fiedner's offense never evolved once since he was hired as the offensive coordinator. Okay, so we've kind of gotten off track there, but that was a great question by, yes, I think it was George that asked that question. Yep. All right, so let's go back into best and worst. We can either stay with best, Bryan, or we can go over to worst. It's up to you. Go ahead.
Let's go to worst.
Okay.
And I'm going to continue the Kendrick Green train here. And what I'm going to stay with Kendrick Green is the worst case scenario is that he is still a project, not ready to move from guard to center full time.
There you go. Yeah, that's
Looking at it from that perspective of guard versus center. I see that.
I get to me though, Brian. I think I agree with you 100%. But is Finney ready? Is like the next part of that. If Finney is capable, then okay. If he's a project, then they can wait a year or two. We'll see.
And I think Dave kind of covered that in his when he was
Yeah.
talking about the center.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Dave, what's yours?
Worst case scenario. I hate to even say it because you don't like to use the I word, but let's just say positions where the Steelers are thin, they get thinner.
I'll just say injuries, Dave.
Exactly. No, I mean, you're going to deal with injuries no matter what. You really are. You're going to deal with injuries. But there are a few key positions that if there's an injury, you're much more, I mean, I hate to say it, OLB, they're really thin there anyway. So if you're dealing with something, even if you're talking about a reserve person not being available, you could really be in trouble based on a specific injury. I can't remember, and I talked about it. Was it 2018 when the Steelers went most of the season with just 3 outside linebackers? I mean, because like people liked the Denier, but he went on IR early. It was just Chickalo and Bud and Watt, and that was it.
Ugh.
I mean, and they rolled with just 3, and they actually got by with it. And I mean, they didn't have anyone else on the roster. That's what's crazy. And you're really playing with fire in that circumstance. But I'm just hoping that when they suffer some injuries, it's not at one of the positions where they're already thin.
That's a good one. Brian, anything to say about that? We knew someone was going to bring up injuries at some point.
Yeah, and that's the easy one. And I fully concur with Dave on that one.
My worst case scenario, and this is, I didn't put these in any specific order, is someone or some people or some players, plural, shows up to camp out of shape. I hate that. I hated it when Casey Hampton used to do it for Bill Cowher. They would do the run test and he would fail it. And Cowher would talk about how Hampton's not going to be practicing today because he's going to be doing conditioning work on the sideline. I just know that Mike Tomlin, more so than Bill Cowher, preaches conditioning. Conditioning. Show up in shape. It's the last thing he said to the media before they cut mandatory minicamp. Was the last thing I told my team was show up in shape. The worst case scenario is that there's players that don't listen to him, don't show up in shape. And we've all seen how this fan base, this media that covers the team, they would just jump on that like flies on you know what. And I just don't want it to happen. So hopefully everyone comes into shape in good condition, and that's going to help them with those minor injuries and bumps and bruises and things like that. All right, go ahead, Brian. What's your next one?
All right, let's go back to a best case scenario. And what I'm going to look at here is that somebody emerges from the defensive backfield that you were not expecting to.
Do you have someone in mind?
Yeah, everybody wants James Pierre, but I'm looking more at a Justin Lane. I'm not predicting. This is not a prediction. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Lustin
J. LJ. I'm looking at LJ. You know what? We definitely put a lot of labels on these players before they get to year 3, and we've already labeled LJ here, or JL, or whatever you want to call him. And everybody is really on the, I want to call him Juan Pierre because of the baseball player, but James Pierre. Everybody's on the James Pierre bandwagon. And it would be great if he comes up, but people are expecting. It's now. Wouldn't it be great to know he's going to? Everyone expects it, and that could go in another direction. But you need somebody to step up at corner, and if somebody else, now there's other guys there. You've got You've got the undrafted free agents, Shakur Brown. You have Mark Gilbert. I mean, the best case scenario would be if this guy gets over his injury problems and shines. But somebody at corner needs to be there to kind of soften the blow of Steven Nelson being gone.
Let me just say, my boy Justin Lane, and if you listen to my Let's Ride podcast from last season, you know exactly what I'm talking about and why we call him that. If you don't, ask in the live chat if you're watching live, and they'll explain it to you. But for me, I hope he plays well. This is a 3rd round draft pick that they spent on this cornerback from Michigan State. Steven Nelson is gone, and this is the door is wide open for him to step up and say, you know what, I can take the outside. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is his 3rd year in the league. This is the time that you would think he steps into that role. Now, they did sign Cam Sutton. No one knows how they're going to utilize him, whether he's going to be in every single outside, every down outside cornerback player. If he's going to flex around, that's neither here nor there. I hope he plays well. I really do. Dave, is there anything you want to say?
No, Bryan and you guys did a good job with that.
All right. Well, what's your next best case scenario?
My best case scenario is that this team plays this season with 5 numbers burned into their skull that they don't forget. And that is 1, 1, 0, 2, 1. Don't forget that date and what happened on that date and what took your season and how all that and everything that went down and, got in such a hole you couldn't overcome it. Or maybe you could have if you weren't living in your fears. But I'm not going to go there. In other words, that should be your driving force, is because that's all everyone right now is thinking of. That's all. The entire narrative about the 2021 Pittsburgh Steelers is based on their last time they stepped on a football field. And rightfully so, because of what you saw there. Everything that they did before that, and I mean, especially the first half of the season, we know how it all kind of fell apart. But all that seems to be forgotten that it was major problems, maybe not just one thing or two things that went in the wrong direction. This team and these players and this franchise, they believe that they were really close, even when some of those other things were falling apart. That it wasn't major issues, it was minor things, a couple too many minor things that added up. And if you fix those minor things, then there's no stopping them. They need to remember that, and that's what should carry them, not just into the start of the season, but you need to remember that next January when you're playing week 17 and 18 and hopefully beyond.
It's a good one. Bryan, anything to add to that?
No, I like that completely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, this is a good time for a break. When we come off the break, I'm going to give a best case scenario fun one surrounding one Mr. Devin Bush. So if you're listening in the audio side, please head over to part 2. If you're watching live on Facebook or YouTube, stay tuned. We're not going anywhere, so stay right here. We'll be right back after this break. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to the second part of your Steelers preview podcast. I'm Jeff Hartman, senior editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Joining me, as always, our podcast producer, Bryan Anthony Davis, and the stat geek, Dave Schofield, editor at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, the Oracle. I'm not saying the hashtag because I don't even know. Anyways, I teased this at the end of part 1, and that was a best case scenario that I had, a fun one for one Mr. Devin Bush. And I have the best case scenario is that Devin Bush shows up to camp and he announces his retirement from Twitter. I would love nothing more. And you noticed, I don't know if y'all noticed, I retweeted this, but Cam Hayward, he got in his mentions and said, dude, calm your ass down, I believe is what he actually said or something like that.
Banner too.
Banner did too. Yeah, he did.
You expect that from Banner.
Yeah, I'm taking your phone.
But this is coming from your captain.
Yeah.
Right. So I would imagine that when training camp starts, if Devin Bush keeps this up And it's not that he's doing anything bad. Like I saw that 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh wrote an article about how Devin Bush should be suspended for a camp practice or 2 days of camp because of stuff he's saying on Twitter. So I was like, what did he say now? So I go to his Twitter feed, and it's like the last tweet was 20 hours ago. And it said, like, you're in the mind of a psycho. And he just is talking gibberish. It really, ever since the cat videos would put everyone over the top. And that's, whatever, that's your opinion on that video, and it's in and of itself. But he's just crazy right now. And I would be concerned only if he shows up to camp and it just keeps going on. That means that he's not heeding Zach Banner. Not that Zach Banner is a big name, but I think he's going to have a leadership role on this team. Or, especially like Dave said, your defensive captain, Cam Hayward. If you're not listening to him, then you're not listening to anyone, unless Mike Tomlin or the owner, Art Rooney II, come down and say, give me your phone. I'm deleting the Twitter app. If we see you active again, you're going to be suspended. Which this is all ridiculous. It was all kind of funny. But maybe Devin Bush will announce his retirement from Twitter. I'd be happy with that. Anyone have anything to add?
I was going to say, guys like Zach Banner, they step off when they need to.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done. Even though he's, an entertaining follow and things like that, he will say, all right, it's time to get to work. I'm signing off. And
it would be nice. It would be nice. And it like I said, he's not doing anything wrong, in my opinion. The only thing that he's done remotely wrong is the cat video.
Yeah. It's more unwise than it is wrong.
And it also just seems really out of the blue.
Yeah.
I mean, for 2 years, we've been a part of listening to him give interviews and all this stuff. And never once has he ever come off as this type of individual. And yes, Kenneth in the live chat says he's a kid. He is a kid. They're all young adults, and they all do stupid stuff, just like Bryan. And I'm sure most of us, myself included, did dumb stuff when we were young adults. Bryan, what do you want to say? Go ahead.
There's a part of me that thinks that he's just screwing with us all.
I do think there's a large part of me that agrees with you.
I'll be honest with you. I would not be shocked to find out later that he handed his phone and his handle and his password off to somebody else and just said, don't do anything. Don't do anything that would get me in trouble, but go have some fun.
I can see it too, which is really weird, but okay. Anyways, let's continue. Bryan, what do you have for us?
So let's go to worst case scenarios. And I have one that I have planned here, but I really got to bring up this one because it's just funny. Our very own Andrew Wilbar. Another worst case scenario. Haskins is co-hosting a podcast with Tony Defeo and a Beehive employee. The podcast would be Satire, Sapphire, and Dwayne.
Well, you have to say that was a build upon what he said on Scobro.
Yes,
where it was Tony and a Beehive employee, which was Satire and Sapphire. Now he's taking it next level.
I did hear that, yeah, but we're getting Dwayne in the mix, and I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's good.
So
actually, my real worst case scenario though is going to be this. You've got the 2020 draft class that, for all intents and purposes, pretty solid draft class right now. But my worst case scenario is that they believe the hype and they fall off. And I'm talking about Chase Claypool, Kevin Dotson, and Alex Highsmith.
So say those names again, all of them?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I heard them all.
Chase Claypool, Kevin Dotson, Alex Highsmith, specifically.
Which do you think is most likely to fall flat on his face in year two?
That's tough. But I would probably say the one that scares me the most, and it's because of people putting stuff in everybody's head, it could be Kevin Dotson. I would have not said that 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But now he's posting stuff, he's debunking it, and I get it, but there's always that, really, there's smoke. Could there be fire? But, and Chase Claypool is another guy that you just wonder about And sometimes you wonder about the maturity level. And I look at some of the comments that we just talked about with Devin Bush, and you're saying, hey, remember, he's a kid. But could he be believing his own hype? And that's kind of what you're going to worry about now. He's got really cool T-shirts, the Deadpool T-shirts that are Claypool in the black and gold. Those are clever. But is he becoming too much of a brand? And then maybe football with his hype, football kind of drifts off? Probably not, but that would be a worst case scenario.
Dave, you want to answer that question? Which of those three second-year players?
Saying this was actually going to be mine. So I had was it no, that I was going to say the second-year players don't make the second-year jump. You know what I'm saying? Because that's kind of what we've grown to expect is that, you set a baseline as a rookie, and then that second year you expect improvement from that. And if you don't, they were all three set their lines much higher than what we expected, in my opinion, all three of them for their rookie year. So the question is, did they already reach that line? And you would think they would have been lower because of no real training camp, no preseason games, all the virtual stuff and everything. You would think that would have put them at a disadvantage, and they rose to the occasion. The question was, what the problem is it too much of they overcame so much that they really overperformed that they actually did peak in that in the preparedness level last year. And that is a concern, because if those guys don't take big steps this year, or not even big steps, just the steps you would expect a second-year player to take, then those are three key positions where the Steelers are going to need those guys to really come through for.
So which would you pick of the three that is most likely to fall flat on their face, Dave?
Honestly, I don't think any of them will. I am going to go with Claypool, not because I don't, and it's not that I think that, like I said, it's not that I think that he will. But I saw how ripped Alex Highsmith got in the offseason. I still feel that Dotson, even though there was the report that he's coming out even more so to be like this definitely wasn't a physical conditioning thing, if there was any truth to that story, and that he even has some more to prove. And Bryan said about the brand thing, that's the only reason I would pick him. But I don't think this is going to happen. But if it does happen, that's where it would be a huge problem, because it would be so unexpected.
I think that if I'm answering the question that I posed to both of you about the three players and who was most likely to fall flat on their face, when I consider falling flat on their face with this trio, it's just not living up to maybe the statistical standards that we're setting for them. And I'm going to go with Alex Highsmith. Mm-hmm. I think Alex Highsmith will still be good. He'll still be serviceable, but he's not probably going to have double-digit sacks. Sometimes that position, it takes years to get to have experience, to learn some of the tricks of the trade. Not everyone is TJ Watt that's going to excel every single year they play. So that would be my pick. I think Claypool's going to be fine. He's a freak of an athlete. He could be the most distracted player off the field, but if he's focused on Sundays or Thursdays or Mondays, I think that he'll be fine. I think he's just that talented. So my worst case and my last worst case scenario, I don't know how many you did, I only did 3, is that Ben Roethlisberger's arm is completely shot. And that is just that at the end of last season, he talked about fatigue. Don't forget last year at this time, beginning of training camp, Mike Tomlin was asked a lot about Roethlisberger's arm, and he talked about how he's lacking some spin. He didn't have the spiral. He's missing some spin. And he was asked about that later in the season, and Tomlin being Tomlin, he kind of made it seem like, I don't even know what you're talking about. You all asked about that? I don't know. I never commented on that. Okay. We all remember, but you somehow forget. That's neither here nor there. But I think that if Roethlisberger's elbow is fully healed, his shoulder's not an issue, his lower body's good, because we all do know, anyone that knows the science behind the throwing mechanics, it all starts with your lower body and then it finishes with the arm. And there were rumors of knee injuries last year. Roethlisberger did say his body wore down. If Roethlisberger's not right, that's really, really bad news for this team. I know that Mason Rudolph improved, and I know that some people like Kevin Smith or Cliff Harris is still a punk on our BehindTheSteelCurtain.com comment section. He says that Mason Rudolph would be able to run Matt Canada's offense maybe better than Ben Roethlisberger based on his experience in college. But we all know that their best chance to win it all is with number 7 BTR under center. So that's my last worst case scenario. Let's go with Bryan. Do you have another best case, or are you done?
I'm going to stop at 3 as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to say something about that?
I actually didn't say one because I said Bryan took mine, but I had another one.
Well, how many more do you have, Dave?
Just that one. Just one more worst case.
Okay, so we'll wait. We'll do. Okay. Bryan will do one more. I have one more. Bryan, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm finished at 3.
Oh, you're done.
Yes, I did 3 and 3, so I'm ready to roll.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Mine is somewhat similar to yours, is why I was going to bring it up because it was part of it, and that was worst case scenario is Father Time shows up in a bad way.
Yeah,
not just and it's not just with Ben. You know, none of these guys can escape him. Time is going to get them all, but the Steelers do have a couple guys like. I know some people are really concerned about Joe Hayden because of his age. I've said nothing with Joe Hayden's play in 2020 would give any indication that he's ready to hit some kind of wall or cliff or whatever based on his age. So I wouldn't expect it, but if it shows up, you're going to have a problem because when you have older guys like Roethlisberger. Well, actually, this was a good question that we did on Scobro's show. I did trivia for my brother, and he had to name the 7 players on currently on the Steelers roster that are 30 and older, and it was Roethlisberger, Alualu, Hayden, Cam Hayward, guys like that. If something happens where age catches up with them, you know, which it will eventually, but if it does in 2021, then that would not be good for these guys before the season even starts. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. And my last one, since Bryan said he's done, is a best case scenario, and that is that the Steelers, they show up, and Dave, you kind of alluded to this earlier, they show up and they mean business. Mm-hmm. We've all seen the dancing and stuff, and I would love for this team, and I'm not expecting this. I'm really not expecting this. I would love for this team to show up and then be reminded almost daily about what it felt like to lose. And Dave, you brought up the date and everything to the Cleveland Browns at home in the playoffs. If I were Mike Tomlin, I would have every television having that game played on a loop, have it in the weight room, in the lunchroom, in the meeting rooms before meeting starts, just play it on a loop. I would love for the team to come out and say, we're going to be focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's winning. One thing and one thing only, that's football. Everything else is secondary, and if we have to sacrifice something, we're going to do it. I used to always say this back when they would actually go to St. Vincent and players would roll up. Like when Antonio Brown started coming in what did he come in, a parachute one time? That wasn't a parachute. He was a helicopter.
That would be a sight.
Yeah. But it started with Brett Kiesel and the tractor. I love Brett Kiesel, but my gosh, like I wanted to see them show up and just mean business. Vince Williams showing up like Stone Cold Steve Austin. James
I actually really like that one.
Yeah, so did I. But James Harrison showing up in a fire truck. All these things, and I just wanted players to just roll up and just be there and like, I'm ready to work. Like I'm not here for the fanfare. I'm not here for the attention. I'm only here to work. So that's my hope. That's my best case scenario. And the last one is that they show up meaning business. Again, not expecting it, but at the same time, it's a best case scenario. Anyone want to say anything to that? All right. They're not the best color men in the league for nothing, folks. All right. Do we have trivia tonight?
I do.
I
have a bunch.
Yeesh.
But no, I wasn't going to do them all. But Bryan, did you want to go first?
I'll go first because mine will be fairly easy. Okay. Since 1952, 5 men wore the number 17 at quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Dick Shiner.
How many of these can you name? And if you get 3 out of the 5, you win.
Number 17? Wasn't Dick Shiner 17?
Dick Shiner is number 17. 1968 and 1969 with a record of 7-21-1 as a starter.
I'm going to put one out there that I think, but we will see. I'm going Mitch Berger.
Quarterback. You're correct.
You said quarterback. Oh,
Yes.
I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, you were definitely
okay.
correct. Mitch
Okay.
Berger's there.
I missed that part. That's my bad.
So quarterback number 17, and did they have to start a game?
No, they did not have to start a game. There's one that did not start a game that is very significant for when he was drafted and who he was drafted beforehand.
Hanratty wasn't 17, was he?
Number 5.
That's what I thought.
There's honestly, because if I'm thinking,
there's a famous one too.
Dick Shiner is the big one, right?
He's the most popular player ever.
Yeah, he is in Jeff's domed head and his shiny domed head.
Shiner.
Nice look, yeah. But that's why you get the haircut. So he is
still waiting for that 17 jersey to be able
with the Shiner look. Just wait, my friend. Just wait. No, there's a big one that you're missing.
Wait a second. Who was the Jeff? Help me out. The year the first Super Bowl, the Steelers won. There was another quarterback that had to start like half the season.
Was it Joe Gilliam or whatever? I don't know if I said that correctly.
Jefferson Street, Joe Gilliam.
Was he 17?
Was he 17?
Yes, he was.
Because that's the only person I could think of that would be a 17 that would be more than Dick Shiner.
That's the guy. That's the main guy that I'm looking for.
Okay, that makes sense.
And he was born in Charleston, West Virginia. I did not know that. So how about that? I'm still waiting for one, just because where he was drafted, he's a national championship winning quarterback in college. The other two you're not going to get. It's Joe Held in 1954, Gary Kerkorian in 1952. So we'll just take them off. But I told you to win, you get 3 out of 5.
I got it. National champion.
Yep.
I'm going to go with this because it was one of the last times they actually even kept a quarterback on the practice squad. I'm going with T. Martin.
It is T. Martin.
Boom!
T. Martin won that championship at Tennessee the year after Peyton Manning. But who was he drafted? Not right before, but in a round before.
Buzz Nutter.
Okay, so T. Martin, because that was.
I love you, Jeff.
So you're 2000. You're talking 2000.
Yeah.
Because I don't even care. I just.
I don't know.
They drafted this guy in the 5th round, T. Martin. In the 6th round, one Thomas Brady was drafted.
Oh, I thought you meant for the Steelers.
He was the last quarterback drafted before Brady.
Wasn't Mike Tomczak 18? Because a lot of people have said Tomczak.
Yes.
Tomczak was 18.
Yep. He wore that for the Bears as well.
So your Charlie Batch was 16. Who is there a quarterback 15?
Mike Krusek was probably the most notable number 15 at quarterback.
Was there a 14?
Neil O'Donnell.
Ugh, that's why I forgot it. 13?
No. There may have been way back when, but there have hardly been any number 13s. There might be 5 13s in the history of this team. I think the last number 13 to have a major role for this team was Jeremy Kapanos.
I'm trying to look up.
Kapanos was 13.
Hold on.
Yes.
I got one. I got a quarterback.
Go.
Steve Mono.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
I just had to look that up.
Mononucleosis. All right, then we know 12 is obvious. 11 was Everett. Was it
Kent Graham? I would say Kent Graham and
11.
Rick Strom would be 11.
10. Cordell,
Dennis Dixon.
Cordell, yeah. 9.
No. Dennis Dixon was 2.
Dennis Dixon was 2.
No, boys. He was both.
Okay.
He wore 10 and 2.
Okay. So, but 10.
No, in other words, he was practicing good driving skills.
10 and 2. But
I couldn't help it.
Okay, so what are we on? 9?
I don't know that there was a quarterback that was 9 because I'm thinking all kickers.
Sepulveda was 9. Boswell's 9.
Brian's favorite kicker for the Steelers.
Oh, Norm Johnson.
Norm Johnson was 9.
You know I love me
So
some
was there ever
Norm.
a quarterback number 9?
I don't believe.
I don't believe there was.
Not even a backup.
Gosh,
Here, I'm trying to search here. I'm not finding anyone for the Steelers that was a quarterback.
All right, we'll come back. Number 8.
Not because nine was Tommy Gunn.
Tommy Gunn.
Right?
Tommy,
He was
yep.
8.
7.
Oh, I wonder who that is.
Actually, Jim Finks. I know Jim Finks was number 7. He ended up being a commissioner for a while, and he was also a general manager of the New Orleans Saints, and I believe a guy named Bill Macready's, but
Okay.
that's just way back.
BTR. Anyway, 6. We have Bubby was
Bubby.
6.
Duck.
Duck was 6. Good call.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other 6s? Brian, any other 6s we're missing?
No, I can't.
5 was Hanratty because you said that.
And Joshua Dobbs
And Gridkowski.
Yes.
Yeah, Bruce.
4, Byron Leftwich.
Oh, that's
Did
right.
he wear 4?
He was
Yeah.
4, wasn't he?
I think Byron Sandwich was the only number 4 to be a quarterback for that team.
He did wear 4. I'm not
Yes.
crazy, am I?
No.
Okay, good. I can't think of another 4.
Because I'm pretty sure everyone else would have been kickers. Yeah.
3,
Landry.
good.
Ooh.
2, Michael Vick.
No.
What?
And Haskins.
And Haskins.
And
2,
Haskins, yeah.
2, Michael Vick, Brian's boy.
How about let me give you another 2.
Wait, I got
Brian
another.
St. Pierre.
Ah, you beat me.
I got another 3.
Who?
Played multiple positions, including quarterback. Bill Dudley.
Bullet Bill Dudley.
Yep.
And then 2, we've had a lot of 2s. Has there been a number 1?
No, when I was doing my
That's-
research for numbers, I'm pretty sure 1 was only kickers or running backs, like in the 30s.
All right.
All right, let me throw one at you. Number 22. Was there a quarterback to wear number 22?
Oh my! Back when they were allowed to.
Yeah. What was that? That was back in like 1945.
No, I mean 1959, but a big deal because he's a part of the Detroit Lions curse, and he was a big deal for the Steelers in that trade as well.
That would be one Bobby Lane, correct?
Bobby Lane.
Ah.
All right. This is fun.
Yeah. All right. So that's my trivia. I added on to Brian's a little bit.
I love it.
A little group think.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. The Pittsburgh Steelers are currently with the NFL's, well, you could say historically, but I still haven't won't crown them with this yet. Longest streak of regular season games or consecutive regular season games with at least 1 sack, because I still give credit back to the 1960 to 65 Detroit Lions that were at 76. But the Steelers, 73 games. This streak started in November of 2016. There are 32 players who have gotten a sack for the Steelers during that streak. How many of them do you think are still with the team?
Okay, I thought you were going to
On
make
the
his name all-
2021
I thought you
roster.
were going to make his name all 32.
No, I'm
I
not
was
gonna
like,
make
this
him all
is gonna take
32.
forever.
Yeah.
So how many are on the current roster?
How many do you think are on the current roster out
So
of those 32?
from 2016? No. So
Yeah.
you're just saying
From
when it started.
From when it started in 2016, not how many players, how many people got a sack in this streak? 32 players have recorded a sack during this streak.
Okay,
How
so
many-
they did not have to be on the
No,
team.
it's like Ben Roethlisberger's not going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Someone
No,
who
but
actually
I'm
got a
talking
sack
about-
during the season.
Somebody that was drafted recently counts.
Yes.
Okay.
So, as long as they got a sack so far in this streak, how many players do you think are left on the 2021 roster from the 32 that have gotten a sack during the streak?
I'm going to go ahead.
I was going to say 11. No, 10. No, that's not right. I'm trying to think in my head. I literally am thinking of players that have registered sacks.
And this is the first question. Jeff, I'm literally going to ask you to name them when it's done.
No.
Okay.
Well, let's just do it 13. Then.
Brian says 13. Jeff, I'm going with your first answer is 11 because it split the difference.
Sure.
It is 12.
Okay.
Okay. Can you name them?
Let's do this.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay. TJ Watt.
He's got the most during the streak. He's got 49.5.
Stephon Tuitt. Tyson
Alualu.
Cam Hayward.
Alex Highsmith. Devin Bush. That's 6.
Vince Williams.
That's 7. He's pretty high up there too on that list as well.
Did Spillane get a sack?
There you go. There's 8.
Okay, I don't. Terrell Edmonds had a sack last season.
Terrell Edmonds has 2 of them during this streak. Yep, so that's 9.
Cam Sutton's
10.
I don't think Hayden. I don't think Hayden got a sack. I don't think they blitz him often. Did Hayden ever get credited for one?
Hayden has 1. Hey, that was the tough one. Hayden has 1. You're down to 1 more. And this person only had 1.
Go ahead, Brian. Finish up.
Chris Wormley.
That's the other one. Wormley and Hayden both had 1 during the streak.
I wouldn't have gotten that one.
Very good, very good. What's funny is when you look at some of these names that had a sack during this, Sean Spence, William Gay, Jarvis Jones is in there, Ricardo Matthews, yes, J. Roan Elliott, L.T. Walton, Big Dan McCullers, L.J. Fort.
Mike Hilton, of course.
Yeah. Mike Hilton. Oh, I was starting with the lower end. He's further up on the list. Lawrence Timmons was in on this. John Bostic, Arthur Moats, Mark Barron, Sean Davis, Ryan Shazier, James Harrison, Anthony Chickalo, Mike Hilton, Javon Hargrave, and one Alvin Bud Dupree, who is actually the number 2 person on this list because he is just ahead of Cam Hayward, who has the 3rd most during the streak.
Very good. Very good. Is that it? I think you had a bunch.
No, I did have a bunch, but I'll save them. I got other ones.
All right. So what do you guys think? We have a few minutes here. What do you guys think about training camp coming up? You excited? You want to pump anything up, Brian, on the podcast side?
Yeah, let's do this. With training camp, our training camp at BTSC is going to start very soon. You're going to start hearing some great shows popping up on our audio-only platform. They're going to be mixed in by the week, maybe 1 or 2 each week until we are in regular season form and the new fall season is about to start. We're looking at 25 original different podcasts coming up in the fall with everything that we're running. So the shows that you love on the AM platform, like a Stat Geek, like a Live Mic, and there's another one that's like 3 days a week. I'm not sure. No, Let's Ride as well. I mean, those are going to be there. Your YouTube shows that you check out here, but I know a lot of you listen to them not now. You're not here right now, but it's a couple days later, and you're checking us out on your commute or by the pool or wherever you are, and it's not real time, but you're checking us out on the podcast platform. Those shows will be available to you a whole lot sooner, just about 3 hours after the show originally airs. We're going to air those at midnight. Then our noon platform's coming up and 6 fantastic new shows. We had Jeremy Betts on here last week with his new show, talking about his new show, the Steelers Fantasy Football Fix. That's going to be on Wednesdays. We're going to have Jeffrey Benedict in another role. He has done so well. He's expanding with his show on Tuesdays, and that's on the Steelers cutting room floor. We are going to introduce next week on the curtain call. We're going to introduce our gentleman from Ohio, the Terrific Trio. They're not the Triumphant Trio, but they're the Terrific Trio that's going to be on Saturdays, and it's going to be the Power Half Hour. So you'll get a chance to hear from Chris, Paul, and Joe as well. We have What Ian's Talking About coming up with Kyle. It's going to be not hashtag pay Kyle, not that Kyle. So you're not getting that check, young Mr. Master Schofield. You're not going to get that one. But no, it's going to be exciting. And when I say 25 new podcasts, part twos don't count in that mix. They don't. They're
Yeah.
25 original shows, and they all have a hook, and I can't wait for you to enjoy them.
Yeah, so just because we're live on YouTube and live on Facebook right now, make sure that you download or you find us on our audio-only platform, and we're everywhere. Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Anchor, Pandora, Spotify. Just search Steelers or Behind the Steel Curtain. We'll be one of the options, if not the top option. Subscribe, follow, and you'll get to see or listen to those shows. I can't stress enough. Our audio-only shows, I listen to all of them, every single one of them. So make sure you check them out. Dave, anything to add to that about coming up to training camp?
Yeah, I got two things. Well, first of all, there was a question asked here that said a young boy wanted to know who was the youngest player to record a sack during that streak. It's got to be one of two people. I'm going to go with Devin Bush, but the other possibility would have been TJ Watt. You know, in their I don't know if that's right or not, but I'm going with Bush. I didn't have the answer. I was asked the question. 3 weeks from tonight, we are not going to be having the show, guys.
It'll be the Hall of Fame game.
We are going to be having a post-game show.
That's pretty crazy.
I am so excited about this. I just do not understand that it's already here, that we are going to be talking about actual on the field play. I'm so pumped for that and excited. I don't know what else to say.
There you go, folks. We're gearing up. I hope you are too. Make sure you check out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. It should be your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. You heard about all the podcast stuff. Dave said that it's Devin Bush, or that's what Young Boy said. Thank you very much. All right, that does it for the show. That's a wrap. Dave, why don't you send us out?
Hey.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Probably just two of us. Actually, it is just two of us. This show sucks. All right, I'll see you next week.